Hey, my name is Bill Mary, and I'm up here on this beautiful mountain enjoying this amazing view and a picnic here at Dolly Sods Wilderness in West Virginia, and this is A Nose for Life.
This is Dolly Sods. Well, actually, there's a lot more to Dolly Sods. It's a very diverse and unique place. And if I'm doing my job right, by the end of this video, you're going to understand why people from all over the U.S. are flocking here to be a part of the Dolly Sods story. And trust me, there's quite a story. Dolly Sods is a 17,000-acre wilderness in Monongahela National Forest in Grant, Randolph, and Tucker counties in the highlands of West Virginia. I'll explain the name Dolly Sods later in the video. Dolly Sods Wilderness and Scenic area is one of West Virginia's most amazing places to visit. It's a national treasure, and with over 47 miles of trails, it's becoming a very popular location for everything outdoors. Serious hiking, day hiking, camping, fishing, picnicking, and much more. People everywhere are discovering this miracle in the mountains of West Virginia. Located on the highest plateau east of the Mississippi, it's home to subalpine flora typically found much farther north in Canada. Now, if you watch our videos about West Virginia, you've heard me say that before, but I never feel like I'm getting my point across, so let me explain it this way. If you're from any other part of the Appalachian Mountains like me, trust me, this part of West Virginia isn't like where you live. It's completely different, and that'll become more apparent throughout the video. The elevation at Dolly Sods ranges from 2,500 to over 4,700 feet, and the views are breathtaking. The summit area around Mount Port Crayon is the largest flat-top plateau in eastern North America. But what I really love about this wilderness is that it has heart. It's been clear-cut, ravaged by forest fires, and even blown to bits during World War II. More on that later. And yet it's not only surviving, but it's thriving. It's one of the most breathtaking places in the Appalachian Mountains. Now in this video, I'm going to tell you all about Dolly Sods and show some of its amazing beauty. And Carolyn and I are going to take you hiking on a few awesome trails too. You're going to love it. Listen, there is some amazing scenery in this video from start to finish, so be sure to watch it till the end. Now let's get started. First, let me blow your mind for a second and explain how in the middle of nowhere we really are while visiting Dolly Sods. Yes, I know I say this in all of my West Virginia videos, but I must mention it again. West Virginia wilderness areas are remote. Dolly Sods is no exception. Cell service? Well, every now and then if the wind blows just right and you tilt your head a certain direction, but most of the time it's not going to happen. This entire region is in the National Radio Quiet Zone. The Radio Quiet Zone is a large area of land here in the U.S. in which radio transmissions are heavily restricted by law to facilitate scientific research and the gathering of military intelligence. So except for rare occasions, your cell phone is just an expensive camera here, and you better pack your lunch, dinner, water, and some snacks because it takes quite a while to get to Dolly Sods from any direction, and it takes a while to drive back down the mountain and find a place to shop, eat, or go to the restroom. The best we can tell, there is only one restroom around Dolly Sods, if you can call it that. And if you've been to Dolly Sods and you know of any other restroom, please let us know in the comments. Now here's what's so funny. Dolly Sods isn't even the most remote wilderness in West Virginia. That title belongs to Cranberry Wilderness, which is just a few hours from here. I'll be releasing a video about Cranberry Wilderness sometime over the next week or so, unless you're a time traveler watching this in the future, in which case I'll leave a card at the end of the video. Anyway, there's nothing but wilderness on this plateau, and it's a pretty big plateau. Remember, this is a real wilderness. It's not like Fort Wilderness at Disney World, even though I like Fort Wilderness, but that's not the point. The access road for Dolly Sods is Forest Road 75, and it's a pretty good forest road, but it's narrow, and like most forest roads, watch out for those potholes. So yes, this place is amazing, but you need to know what you're getting into. This is the perfect getaway for people who fully embrace remote outdoor adventures and amazing scenic beauty. Here's a little bit about the history of Dolly Sods. That's going to be important for the rest of this video. A little over 100 years ago, this was described as the best spruce, hemlock, and black cherry forest in the world. About that time, the world, especially the US, decided to build things. A lot of things. And among those things being built, homes. Tens of thousands of homes all over the U.S. were being built, and of course we had a craving for paper. This was obviously before the digital age, and in case you didn't know it, trees are used to make paper. So this region and its surrounding regions were logged and logged until most of the trees were gone. No, like seriously, gone. And much of what was left, including the slag left on the ground, was burned in a series of forest fires in the early days of the 20th century. What logging didn't destroy, the forest fires finished off, and for a few decades this plateau looked like a desert. The Monongahela National Forest was created in 1915 because of a desire to better manage our natural resources and prevent something like this from happening again. Now, if this sounds familiar, it's because it's almost the exact same thing I shared in a video about graveyard fields. Graveyard fields is a curious situation, especially considering what you're seeing now. Trees, new life, and an amazing comeback.
It is so hard to imagine that 80 years ago or thereabouts, maybe a little longer, this entire forest wasn't here. I mean, it was here and then it was clear cut and then it was gone. The forest didn't just come back. It came back with a vengeance for life. I mean, it came back in a super big way. So the growth that you're seeing now at most is like 80, 85, 90 years old. I mean, it's insane because you would think it's been here since ancient times. I mean, but trees grow fast and this place is amazing because it's perfect. It shouldn't have come back, not this fast. I mean, we have visited other places in the mountains, specifically North Carolina, graveyard fields, where the same thing happened. Forest fires, devastation, clear-cut logging, and boom. It's taken 100 years for life to start back again at graveyard fields over on the Blue Ridge Parkway in North Carolina. But here, I mean, it came back with a vengeance, and it suffered through even more. Imagine it's a beautiful spring day just like this. Nice and cool, but very green, and there's flowers in bloom. It's just a gorgeous time to be hiking in the woods. But you look down on the ground and you see something that's, well, it's metal. Slightly rusted, but it's metal. And upon closer examination, it's a bomb.
And if Dolly Sods hadn't been through enough, in 1943, Dolly Sods was drafted into the Army as a member of the West Virginia Maneuver Area. The WVMA was an enormous training area in the Allegheny Mountains that included 5 West Virginia counties. This World War II-era training center was used to train soldiers in low-altitude mountain operations. It was selected because it's kind of like the mountains of Italy and other areas in the European theater.
We're the Army and proudly proclaim.
Not just the forest fires, not just clear cutting, but also, yeah, this place was shelled to death. They practiced artillery here. It's crazy.
Back in 1997, a train crew surveyed the trail locations and known campsites for shells. 15 shells were found, and some were still live. Now, it's impossible to locate all of the shells, so there are signs up everywhere letting you know not to pick them up. So, if you're hiking at Dolly Sods, it's probably a good idea to stay on the trails and don't go digging around in the dirt.
The Army goes rolling along.
So you can have an amazing time just driving on Forest Road 75 around Dolly Sods, going to the Bear Rock Preserve. I mean, it's amazing. You'll have a great time. But to really experience Dolly Sods, you got to get out here and hike. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can experience Dolly Sods without hiking. Yeah, I guess you can. It reminds you more of New England or Canada than it does other southern Appalachian forest. It's very different, very unique. So if you're used to Appalachian Mountains, whether it be down in Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, this is different. It's got its own thing going on. And it's one of those things that I highly recommend that you take a summer and come to West Virginia and check out the highlands of West Virginia, because it's just a whole different kind of hiking outdoor experience.
One of the most widely recognized symbols of West Virginia wilderness and one of the most photographed places in the state is Bear Rocks on the Bear Rocks Preserve. You've heard me say this in other videos, but every park or wilderness area has a hot dog stand or a focal point. And from what I can tell, on this plateau, it's Bear Rocks. It has the best views, access to the most amazing trails, and parking. It's a gathering or meeting place. The Bear Rocks Preserve is a 477-acre tract owned and preserved by the Nature Conservancy. Now, in full disclosure, I haven't been able to fully understand the arrangement or association between Bear Rocks Preserve and Dolly Sods Wilderness, and I'm not sure that it really matters. If not for seeing this sign on our second trip, I might add, I would have assumed that Bear Rocks Preserve is in Dolly Sods. I honestly don't know. From what I can tell, it's two different entities that work together. The Nature Conservancy helped establish Dolly Sods decades ago, so there's some kind of a connection. Anyway, obviously, they're on the same plateau, and they're both in the Monongahela National Forest. So for our purpose, it's not going to hurt to lump the two together because, well, it's all beautiful. Bear Rocks sit in a high-elevation heathland or shrub habitat, and it's famous for these wind-carved sandstone and these red spruce trees that are also shaped by the wind. Here you can find more than a dozen rare plants and animal species. This location is on the Allegheny Front, or the Allegheny Plateau's eastern edge. It stretches from New York to Tennessee. This is also the Eastern Continental Divide. Water on the west side of the front will find its way to the Mississippi River and eventually the Gulf of Mexico. On the east side of the front, water flows into the Chesapeake Bay. The terrain is mostly rocky, and there are big rocks too, and by big rocks, I mean giant boulders.
I like that boulder. That is a nice boulder.
Climbing to the top isn't as tough as it looks. In fact, it's a short hike, and it doesn't require scrambling unless you want to have fun and climb around the rocks. But never forget, Dolly Sods, including Bear Rocks Preserve, is a high-elevation wilderness. It receives up to 150 inches of snow in the winter and 55 to 60 inches of rain. Forest roads 19 and 75 are closed from January to April. Occasionally, it even snows here in May, and it can frost any month of the year, and it's always windy. This entire region is known for strong, sustained winds. There are power-generating wind turbines on the mountains surrounding this plateau. The name Dolly Sods goes back to the mid-1800s. The Dolly family who once lived here used open grassy fields called sods for grazing sheep in this area. The spelling of Dolly was Americanized to Dolly, and then you have Sods, Dolly Sods. I think it's incredibly interesting that different parts of the Appalachian Mountains refer to land features differently. In the southern Appalachian Mountains like North Carolina or Tennessee, sods or mountaintop grassy fields are called balds or grassy balds. Here in West Virginia, they're called sods.
So if you think amazing picnic moments like this are hard to accomplish, well, actually they are very hard. You have to plan. In fact, Carolyn started making plans for this location and this picnic about a week and a half ago. The first time we came up to Dolly Sods, she made up her mind right then, we're coming back and we're gonna have a picnic on these rocks, and that is exactly what we did. So it's not just the work of slugging it out across these rocks to get the 2 coolers that we have over here with our sandwich meat and all that kind of stuff, but it's also the planning ahead. It's worth it. When you get out here and you're having your picnic, man, you know you've earned it. It's awesome. You put in the time and you have this amazing moment. So this summer, as everybody's getting back out and doing things, remember you can plan amazing moments just like this. You just have to have a nose for life. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Please click the like and subscribe button. My name is Bill Marion, and this is A Nose for Life. Hey, if you like this video, I'm sure you'll like one of these other videos. Check them out.